name is Garrett Mehrguth. I am the CEO and co-founder of Directive. We are a performance marketing agency for B2B software companies around the world. And we've got an amazing team here of over about 150 people, full-time, across Latin America, EMEA, North America, and are working with some of the most impressive software companies in the world, and blessed to be their partners. So what we're going to talk about today is the methodology that we have developed at Directive called customer generation. And it's to essentially deliver upon the promise that demand gen forgot about. And so today we're going to walk through kind of our journey, our story, the core principles, and even how you can apply customer generation to your business. We launched it almost at this point over 2 years ago, and it's had a really big impact on software companies you've heard of and ones you never heard of, and ones that we're not allowed to use in this kind of list. But the reality is that demand generation just doesn't go deep enough. I think a lot of times too many directors of demand gen, VPs, are still focused on MQL, they're still focused on lead volume, but they're not really getting to that point where they're holding themselves accountable to driving customers and revenue for the business, right? And I want to ideally move us down funnel and really get our efforts focused as a marketing group in alignment with sales and be held accountable to revenue across the entire life cycle. So, a lot of what's been going on today is like performance marketing, demand generation is brand versus performance. It's channel technicians. It's leads as a North Star metric. It's a linear funnel. It's siloed teams. It's static data warehouses. And it's hard to measure. Customer generation is really moving us beyond that. It's taking into account brand and performance. It's honoring programmatic and brand advertising for what it does for your company when using a manually verified TAM list, which we'll talk about. But also making sure that your marketers on your team are multi-channel, that they understand customer lifetime value and revenue, that they're thinking about growth cycles in a compounding lens. They're integrated teams across product sales and marketing so that when we launch new products, we actually understand the demand for them and are able to properly sell them. It uses first-party data like our TAM, which we're going to dive into, as well as financial modeling to make sure that we understand how much we can pay for a demo. We can pay for an MQL. We can pay for a customer to still hit those LTV CAC ratios that finance is holding us accountable to. And so these are the 5 principles of customer generation. Okay. Principle 1 is first-party data unlocks growth. Financial modeling is a need to have. NSMs focus capital and drive growth. NSMs are North Star metrics. Okay. Brand creates demand, and then integrated performance marketing converts demand. And so principle 1 is just first-party data unlocks scale. And what this is all about is making sure that when we advertise on a platform like LinkedIn, like Facebook, like Instagram, like the Trade Desk, we're only using our own uploaded data that we've exported from a place like ZoomInfo, Seamless, Crunchbase, Clearbit, and made sure that we have that data quality. Think about it like ABM on steroids. Instead of going after your top 100 accounts, we want to go after every single solitary company in your regions of operation that have very similar firmographic traits to your ideal customer personas or your ideal accounts, right? So what we do is first look at your existing customers and figure out who pays you the most, who do you retain the best, who has the best margins for you, and then what character traits do all of those companies share? Employee size, maybe revenue, maybe tech count, maybe certain types of technology that you have deep integrations with or codependence upon, right? And then we're going to build out every single company in the region you operate in that shares those traits, and we're going to upload them to your ad platforms, right? And the key here is to manually verify before uploading, okay? And we're not going to only upload to the ad platforms. We're also going to upload to to Salesforce, sorry. So that we can cross-reference our data points and see how much market share we've taken across our total addressable market, and we can actually report on that to the C-suite and the board, and it really changes the strategic or dynamic nature of the marketing department and how it's perceived internally by your organization. Also, you'll notice, without manual verification, there's a ton of waste. So the point of manual verification is that sales theoretically also signs off on the list. And so does like the CEO, right? We want everyone to be bought into that. These are the exact accounts we are going to win. And then every impression we deliver to them, whether or not it converts, still has this sense of intrinsic value and allows us to start being more dynamic in our brand advertising and how we're going to market. Okay, and then we're going to upload it to Salesforce like we talked about, so that you could do a report that talks about, okay, of these 22,000 accounts, we've held sales meetings with 9.6 thousand of them, and we took 44% market share. By the way, this is my own data. Last year, on this methodology, I spent over $3 million of my own money. So everything I'm talking about today, I'm deeply passionate about, but also deeply invested in personally. And one of the reasons I can spend so much is we have strong financial modeling, right? And so, if you're watching this right now, I think it's important you take a moment to just ask yourself, where are you on this kind of phase of maturity? Are you somewhere between disconnected, or are you somewhere closer to sophisticated? And sophistication is you can actually look at LTV CAC ratios by market segment, like employee size, by role. In other words, like how much is it costing us to acquire a CMO for Directive versus a director of demand gen? How much is it costing us to acquire a 10,000 plus company, employee size wise, or a 500 person size company, right? And being able to look at all those different things, titles, roles, employee size, allows us to be really dynamic with our capital allocation, right? Sometimes we're like, man, we're really struggling to move up market. But then if you broke out your budget, you'd realize, well, we're only spending 5% of our marketing budget on up market accounts. So by being dynamic and nuanced in how we think about where we're spending our money, we're going to be more impactful as marketers. I find that the size or quality of an investment is almost always indicative of how good you are at something. So like if your company's bad at something, you usually also don't have a big budget for it, I have found. And then this is the LTV CAC modeling we use. So I think one of the benefits of being a customer of Directive is the accountability that we're trying to hold ourselves accountable to, as well as the elevation we're trying to elevate our customers to how they think about marketing, how they think about capital, how they think about finance and its importance and relevance to marketing, the value of life cycle stages. All these things to us are really important and help us understand, how much our clients can spend to profitably acquire a customer. And then across our portfolio, we have these insights. So some of our clients don't always have benchmark data to fill out the LTV CAC formulas. And so we can use benchmark data across our portfolio over the last 4 years to really inform our opinions at the channel level, at the pipeline level, and really be nuanced in how we think about things. And then lastly, we need to be focused, right? And every software company needs a North Star metric. And it needs to have a clear understanding of what it's trying to accomplish, how it wants to grow, and the ways it will grow. And you can see here I've mapped out some different options or types of NSMs for the different types of companies. So you can see Calm or Blue Apron focused on growth efficiency, Airbnb on advocacy and UX, engagement growth with LinkedIn, usage growth, let's say with Stripe from a processing standpoint, customer growth with Slack. So you can kind of see these different organizations and how they think about growth. And I think what's important is that you take this, right, as a leader and ask yourself, how are we going to grow using customer generation, right? So what we've done here is we've built this kind of strategy selector tool for our clients that takes into account their subscription model, their business, how they think about their organization, and how they bill, and then also what they're trying to accomplish, whether that's qualified pipeline or growth efficiency. We used to have a lot more here, and we've realized that people either want more or they want more for less. And usually they want both, right? So we try to keep this simple. And then on the growth opportunity level, you'll find that we have market penetration, new product launching, new ideal customer persona or total addressable market we're entering. Maybe we're going up market. Maybe we're expanding internationally. And then kind of how someone selects this is what we then parlay that into what your North Star metric should be, right? Based on what your goals are. If it's qualified pipeline, it's usually demos booked, SQLs, AOV, win rate, LTV CAC, or free trial signups, let's say. And if it's efficiency, it's oftentimes getting that lifetime value up, lowering that CAC, improving return on ad spend, improving unit economics, decreasing payback period, improving activation rate. So really what I want you to think about, ideally coming out of this session, is really, do you have a North Star metric? And based on your goals, what should it be, right? So at this point, we have built our total addressable market, manually verified it, uploaded it to Salesforce, and fully integrated it to Instagram and Facebook using metadata, LinkedIn using direct audience list uploads, and Trade Desk using a list upload. Now we're ready to articulate our brand. And it's so important to articulate our brand because you can even see here from Global Brand Works, they did a study, and they show that brands outperform the S&P 500 on a consistent basis. In other words, there is monetary value to your P&L when it comes to investing in brand. Now, I think the key here is to mitigate waste, and hence why we do only that TAM upload, right? We know the exact accounts that are receiving our impressions. And what I think is so important to understand is also how it starts to affect all your other campaigns. So it's not immediate, but as you start to understand what I call the watering holes, right? So we have a saying at Directive: if 100 or more B2B SaaS marketers are gathered, Directive is present. It's a very simple concept, but it helps our marketing team understand what conversations do we need to be a part of? What type of events do we need to attend? And then when we attend these events, how can we be shockingly memorable? How can we stand out from our competition, right? And then when we think about brand, I think one of the things we sometimes forget to do is ask ourselves, what is the goal? Right? We got to build this campaign, but we want to have a sense of singularity when we talk about brand marketing and brand advertising. What do we want our ideal customer persona to think about us? What do we want that first opinion of our brand to be according to them? And how do we do that, right? Is it because we want to dictate pricing power, attract more talent, boost brand sentiment, establish market leadership, build a community, get to be seen as a disruptor, win share of voice, be competitively different? There's so many different things we can do. We got to ask ourselves why. And then once we know what we're trying to accomplish, we want to really think about how do we want to make people feel? Okay? So do we want people to feel confident? Do we want them to feel freedom? Do we want them to feel safe? Do we want them to feel like they're missing out? Once we really map that emotion, now we're able to get to this kind of really new perception of our brand and this new positioning of our brand in the marketplace, just because we were disciplined, focused, and embraced this sense of singularity of the singular message we're trying to articulate about our brand to our audience. And we have the confidence and willingness to invest in that message and invest in that singularity for a long enough time that we believe we'll see its returns. Okay? So one of the ways you can ensure that you get longevity out of your brand campaigns, especially if you're just starting today, and brand, by the way, is anything that doesn't have a direct response mechanism. I wouldn't say it's necessarily informational intent. This is like more like what you see on TV from the insurance companies. And it's more literally about articulating your brand message to your audience in a compelling, humorous, clever, insightful, technical, whatever your brand is, way. And I would argue the best way to sustain that, because it is hard to map it back to how much revenue do we make? How many demos do we get from this? That's not the point. So you don't want to spend more than you should so that it becomes so noticeable on your budget or on your P&L that you have to cut it. So you want to spend as little as humanly possible that you never stop when someone asks if it's worth it or not. It's a way to kind of put a mental model in your head. Right? And one of the ways we like to think about it, and I want to give you all today, is kind of how you can create that brand story, right? So the hook, the objective, the problem, the payoff, why it matters, and now what do you do about it? And then once again, that singularity, the one idea, okay? Getting that point of singularity. Sometimes we muddy what we mean and what we're trying to say because we try to say too much and we lose that focus, that discipline. And then, what we like to do is make sure that we're distributing it properly. So when you think about distribution, one of the things I would encourage you to think about is, do you have a sizzle trailer We use that sizzle trailer on our Zoom. Cool little tactic you can do is you can actually have a video play in your waiting room of your Zoom. Gives people a lot of like positivity, insights, social clips, programmatic clips, behind the scenes clips. There's so much you can do when investing in a brand video that's important that you leverage all those different parts of distribution to fully monetize that initial investment, right? So you can run an awareness ad, for example, and then that can build to a retargeting audience list. You can do interest nurture, you can do demo and consideration, right? All this goes into a broader campaign for how you're articulating the value of a brand and the importance of that brand to its clients. And then lastly is kind of tying it all together is like integrated performance marketing converts, right? And so we've got our TAM, we've got our financial model, we've got our brand. Now it's time to do some direct response and start filling up our pipeline and generate SQLs and customers. Okay. And so here you can kind of see a little bit around how we think about it. So these are actually all services that we offer. We don't always have customers across all these. A lot of times they might just buy one. But, one of the reasons I bring this up is one of the reasons we're able to monetize that $3 million of spend so well is the focus in the service offering. A lot of times for our SaaS clients, I'll find that they have a product suite that shares a lot of different roles or buying centers and titles. And it makes it really difficult to grow the business, to cross-sell the products, or to essentially expand AOV or share of wallet within your customer base when you have disparate buying centers in different functions of the org. Conversely, Directive builds all of its services and everything it does around the director of demand gen for a software company with over 100 employees. With that level of focus and detail, we also have our startup package, but when it comes out, we think about our business, it's really for that human. And then we want to make sure all these services are valuable and applicable to that exact human. I think mapping out your business like this is really important as a marketer to understand how your products fit together into, let's call in this case, the Directive platform, or in your SaaS business's case, your platform. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to walk through the application of customer generation, but also for a specific account. And what we saw is when working with WordPress VIP, 3 times increase in total contract value, 7x the opportunities at a $41,000 lower cost per opportunity, and we're able to rank them, drive down costs, improve click-through rates, improve creative, things like that. So this is a kind of integrated campaign strategy map where you can see how it all works together, right? So we have things like search in the blue, which is like review sites, which we call share as SERP. We got search and programmatic, all of that, right? Going to landing pages. We got search and direct traffic. We have social media. We have social media lead gen using gift cards. And a lot of these, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to skip this middle stage. A lot of CMOs I see today in B2B software, they're struggling because MQLs are like balloons. They eventually pop, but there's nothing inside, and then they lose their job. And it is happening, unfortunately, a lot right now, given these macroeconomic conditions in the software industry. And so, Directive does have enough market share now where we can start to really see which SaaS companies are winning, which ones are losing, and, at the leadership level, what are the leaders that are winning? What are they focused on? And I would say the leaders that are doing the best right now in marketing, especially B2B software, they're deeply understanding the importance of brand messaging, brand value, and distribution of that brand message and value with singular focus, number one. And then number two, they are moving away from allocating their capital to informational intent assets. And by doing so, they're really, really improving the efficiency of their capital deployed, and they're being trusted with more money and more budget to run their business units. And so what I'd highly encourage you to think about is to take your budget and then map your budget to the direct action you're hoping someone takes. See, the reason I love video, and we'll talk about this right here, is you can use CPM-based bidding and distribution, and you get a lot more leverage on the asset, and the assets consumed in the way that consumers currently consume information. In other words, they can get the value of your brand without clicking, but instead the video auto plays and they receive your brand's message in the newsfeed, in the platform. Conversely, a lot of people in B2B are still running this ebook, white paper, data sheet playbook where they're spending a lot of money, far more than they can when they do their LTV CAC modeling at a cost per MQL level, on informational intent users that are not monetizable in acceptable windows of time. So I like to delete the MQL stage where possible and clients allow, and focus brand building at the CPM level at top of funnel in platform, so in programmatic, like through connected TV, in the newsfeed for Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, things like that, where the videos consumed, pre-roll on YouTube, things like that. And then I'd love to push gift cards to go directly to salespeople calendars so that I'm actually driving immediate meetings booked from my review sites, from my paid social, from my Google ads. And I try to not overinvest in the distribution of content and make sure that I'm overinvested instead on the distribution of my brand CPMs via video and my focus on direct SQL generation using monetary incentives like gift cards or third-party review sites and Google ads. So what we did for them was, as always, really start with that TAM. So here we layered on filters for revenue threshold and excluded any companies that fell under 10 million in revenue. We also usually map that revenue number back to like an employee size ratio that we feel confident in. And then we work with sales and product teams to make sure that we understand who their current enterprise customers are, and then, why did they choose you, and integrate that messaging from the sales org back into our marketing copy to resonate. Then we've got to think about our capital allocation. As you can see here, I don't think did a video with us. Maybe they did. But almost everything here is down at the bottom for opportunities. And you can see the distribution on Google and LinkedIn, where LinkedIn gives us firmographic control but doesn't have intent, and then Google gives us intent without firmographic control. I'm finding Google to be a very difficult channel to scale. Capterra also isn't great for like a WordPress VIP because it usually has a small business lend, where like something like Software Advice or Gartner Pure Insights would be better for someone like a WordPress VIP. But Google, I'm finding, is just hard to scale on because, like in this case, there's only so many enterprise CMS software, enterprise CMS platform type queries that we really think are personified enough to be relevant for them to click, compared to like CRM software or CMS software, that just is more, frankly, WordPress normal and not WordPress VIP. And so Google to me is like where you really build it out in that kind of first quarter of working with someone, but then it comes more to be about efficiency on the platform and discoverability on the right queries and converting that, while LinkedIn and social and programmatic is where we can start pushing budget and scale to that ideal customer persona from that manually verified TAM. What we did for them is just go into there, and once like I was saying before, is that efficiency play on Google, right? Go in, clean up the waste, lower the cost per click, look at the search term report, look at the negatives, just be a thorough professional and frankly how you manage their budget. And then roll out the gift cards. You can see some data here. So yes, even when selling to large enterprise organizations who need a enterprise level content management system, gift cards work. I personally closed the CMO of Calendly on a gift card from Facebook and just closed HP Latin America from a gift card on Instagram. So it works. No matter what anyone tells you, I've been running gift cards for almost 5 years now. I do it for almost everyone in the industry. And I think I personally spent over $500,000 on gift cards alone last year. But why? Because my cost per intro call held is still so much lower using gift cards. So here's the theory, so you guys can understand where my brain's at with this. I am leveraging primarily the Convo ad unit as well as sponsored content on LinkedIn. That is where the volume is coming from, okay? And what I'm finding is that my highest leverage in acquiring a customer comes from getting them from apathy to action and attending a sales moment. So instead of what everyone does, right, we get $100 to use as a model for budget on LinkedIn. Everyone else is giving all $100 to LinkedIn. What we are innovating and prioritizing is a different psychological approach where we give $70 to LinkedIn and we keep 30, and we tell the person we're advertising to on LinkedIn with that $70 that if you do what we want, if you take this sales call, if you attend this demo, we will give you $30. And by financially motivating our ideal customer persona from our manually verified TAM to take a meeting with our sales org, we're actually finding a much lower cost per form fill, but even more importantly, a much lower cost per intro call held because they only receive the gift card if they attend the meeting. By incentivizing attendance and action, we're seeing exponentially more efficiency in our life cycle stages throughout our pipeline. And then we have to start to not only do gift cards, so we don't want to be seen as our brand as gift cards, but instead that our incentive is gift cards. And remember, there's a big difference between incentives and value props, okay? Your value prop is almost always not strong enough or good enough to get someone who's on social or programmatic and not theoretically in market. And I do not love in-market data from Bombora and the rest of them. I don't think it's that accurate. But they're not in market. And I need to get this human from apathy to action. That's where the gift card comes in. That's how I get someone not in market who can't really tell why they should give me their time at this point to give me their time. And that's through monetary incentives. And then retargeting with programmatic ads. Once again, showing your value and getting away from only gift cards in your messaging, right? It's a healthy balance of your value while also leveraging the gift card as an incentive for them to take the meeting. And then we do a lot of one-to-one ABM. So actually looking at across our whole TAM is great, right? It gives us the mid-market. But when it comes to those top 100 accounts, what we want to do is have unique creative for every one of them and go after them natively in the platforms. And we can do that on LinkedIn. There is a little bit of waste in the sense that your minimum audience size is larger than the amount of people with the title you're targeting in the org most of the time. But the AOV, when you model it out, of these top 100 accounts is so large that it allows for greater waste in your life cycle stages to justify essentially their acquisition cost given their lifetime value. And so we do want to focus on those individualized accounts as well. And then we really want to think about what we call share SERP, and that's search engine results page coverage. How much market share on a search engine results page do you have, right? And the way that works is the ads, right? There's 4 ads above the fold. They each average a 2 to 4, maybe 2 to 5% click-through rate. So if you advertise on a keyword that has 100 searches a month with a Google ad, you're theoretically getting no more than 5% market share of total clicks occurring from that query. And so what we want to do is we want to look at the review sites. We want to look at the different types of informational content that's ranking. And we want to try to take as much market share as humanly possible for our primary keywords. And then lastly, we want to think about how we organize our business. I always like to say we organize for customers, not products. And so thinking about the outcomes we drive and who we're for is always a powerful way to think about articulating your value and converting those landing pages when they click, right? I don't like to use landing pages when I can use a lead gen form, so I always prioritize lead gen forms. It's just one less step for the customer, and their information auto-populates. So big fan of lead gen forms. When I can't use lead gen forms, though, landing pages that we're testing with different hypotheses around messaging and value is critically important to me. And if you follow this methodology, you go about it the right way, you build your TAM, you understand your financial model, you set a clear North Star metric and a goal, you tie that North Star metric and goal into your brand messaging and value props, and you distribute that brand using CPM type bidding across to your manually verified TAM, you're going to see success. And lastly, when you layer in some gift cards and you layer in some incentives and you start running direct response across social, across Google Ads, across review sites, you're going to start to see SQLs going into your pipeline, direct traffic driving better efficiency, overall better returns from your total capital deployed, and you're going to start to see your pipeline grow and customers be generated. So I highly encourage you to think about this methodology. If you're curious about how we could implement it or execute it for you, please feel free to reach out to me directly or fill out our form. And thank you so much for your time today, and have a great day.